do shuffle cards and bring something. My favorite thing to do is talk to God. And then when I'm doing it, sometimes it seems to cost a lot of energy and time. And when it exhausts me, completely exhausts me to talk to God, it's like spending all my time and energy and money, and I'm exhausted talking to God. The fact that I continue to want to talk to Him so bad that it doesn't stop me when I'm totally exhausted. When He tells me that talking to Him is punishable by death, I only believe Him in the sense that I can see that talking to Him does cost a lot. It seems to be taking up a lot of my energy, and ultimately it exhausts me after a while. No more, no more monkeys jumping on the bed was something that God told me when He first came to me. He would use the term "no more monkeys jumping on the bed," and ultimately, I remember a time when I was a kid, and I was jumping on the bed and in front of my mom, just misbehaving with my sister, and God told me when I was a kid, He brought me back to where I was jumping on that bed in the memory, and I hadn't thought about that my whole life. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to jump on the bed when I was a kid, and it was fun, and we almost broke the bed. The beds got damaged from us jumping on them so hard, and ultimately my mom would tell us not to jump on the bed, but God told me that He said not to jump on the bed. So God said, when you were a child, there was a certain time in your life, and He brought me in a memory back to that time. Do you remember it? I was like, I did. I remember we used to jump on the bed, and we didn't stop, and they said like stop. My mom couldn't make us stop, and ultimately, God told me He was telling me to stop, and He said that I was laughing and absolutely joyfully disobeying Him when He was telling me stop jumping on the bed. I just absolutely not only enjoyed ignoring Him, but I was absolutely in defiance of like I don't even hear you, but like I had no idea what I was doing. He said, "You defied me that day. No more monkeys jumping on the bed," was what He told me. He said, "Stop it. Stop jumping on the bed." And I absolutely see, I don't even know what's going on. So I ignored God and disobeyed Him directly at that time, and it was the first time I did it. So He said there was one time in your life where you literally just told me like, "Meh," like no, I like ignoring you. I don't have to listen to you. He said that I got that from my mother. My mother enjoyed ignoring God. So when God talked to her, she would ultimately only listen in the sense that, I don't have to listen to you. You know, I could do what I want. And so my mom was kind of against God, but she didn't really know it. She was more like kind of in defiance, in some kind of a rebellious state of mind. You know, like I don't accept masculine men that try to tell me what to do or something like that. No. Okay. Uh, he said that was the first time I disobeyed Him, and that was when He said He's going to leave me. And since I'm not going to listen to Him anymore, He said He's going to leave me. So I'm telling you that when God told me that when I was a kid, jumping on the bed, and He told me to stop doing it, and I absolutely disobeyed Him, and I said no, I wouldn't do it. He said you mocked me, and then you absolutely disobeyed me, and you and your mother were enjoying not listening to anything I'll tell you. And from that moment on, you absolutely disobeyed me, and I had to say goodbye. So He said there was a time in your life where I actually came to you as a kid and said, "You're not listening to me." So God came to me. I didn't even know He came to me, and He said that. I only know. I remember I was up on the bed and I loved it. He said, "I was telling you not to do it. I was telling you to stop, and you loved it. You loved disobeying me and not doing what I told you, but actually doing the opposite. You were defying me utterly as a child, being like your mother, who's defying me as an adult." And I thought, wow, you got to be kidding me. You're not even kidding me. So God told me that at that time I was talking to you, and I told you I'm going to leave because I'm not going to be here to try to guide you if you're not going to do what I say. And I would be here to guide you if you were going to do what I say. But God told me that not only are you not doing what I'm going to say, but you and your mother enjoy not doing what I'm going to say, and you find joy in rebelling against me. And when my presence is near, telling you something or what to do or how to change it or what I want, you are mocking me and saying no, like you're not going to obey God. I can do what I want. Screw God. But you didn't really say that. You were literally doing it. You didn't even know I was talking to you. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So God was telling me something and I didn't even know he was talking to me. He was talking to my feelings. And so I was not aware of what he was really saying. He was talking to my heart and I was not aware of what he was really telling me. But he told me when I could actually hear him and understand. There's a time recently where I started talking to God and he's real and he talks to me and I could hear what he's saying. I know what he tells me. And it's not a fantasy and it's not a maybe he's not here. It's a definitely he's here. He says that I'm allowed to witness the interaction like Moses did or any of the privileged prophets. And he said that I have a privilege that will not be given to men and or women, many of them. And he said that if you can actually talk to God and you know he's present and you could hear his voice, then you are doing something that the regular person is not allowed to do. He said, if I disobey him one more time, he would withdraw his presence from my household, and my household being my mom, my dad, my brother, my two sisters, our family. He said he was going to leave our family and withdraw his presence from all of us. And our whole family had God up until I was a little kid. When I was about 9 or 10, we lost God. Our whole family did not see the presence of God leave. And everything went wrong after that, meaning our family collapsed. Basically, my dad quit his job and he lost his gas stations. We absolutely, our house we eventually lost, but we lost money to do anything. We couldn't, we became poor and it was like ridiculous. Like everything went to hell after God left us and withdrew his presence. He said when he did it, he told us that if we want to defy him and utterly like doing it with joy, he would not come back and not ever again. And we'll never have him ever. And so he said, I will come back in 10 years from now, or when you're 18 and you're an adult, and I'll give you another chance. So I had no idea he was telling me that. All I knew was our family was certainly falling apart. And certainly we were all misbehaving. And I didn't do what my mom wanted. And she would tell me, and I'd run from her. And our whole family was just completely chaotic. Our whole family collapsed. Everything went wrong. I grew up and I was 18 years old. And I didn't know God ever even talked to me when he talked to me. But when I was working at a gas station and he came to me through a man who was a religious man. And I didn't know it was God coming to me because I forgot all about it. I was 18. I was an unhappy man. I never really was a success. I was working at a gas station and ultimately drinking a lot of beers every night, trying to have fun. And I was struggling. Of course, my whole family struggled ever since God left us years and years back. We didn't know he left us, and we certainly didn't know he might come back. We didn't know we might get another chance. But when I was 18 years old, he came to me through a man who's religious, and the man said to me, he started talking to me about God, like I need to know who he really is. And ultimately, I thought it was just a man wanting to sell something or be, I just didn't give him the time of day. I told him, like, I don't understand what you're doing, but like I'm working and I can't, and I understand God said, I came to you and another man. And I insisted you listen to me. I was trying to tell you something. And you looked at me and that man and you completely rejected everything because you felt if God comes back, I have to do everything he wants. And if he's going to come back in my world, I have to obey his will and like a completely behaving child. And I can't be a monkey jumping on the bed. I can't like do whatever I want, drink beers and swear. And yeah, you can't. Would you like to have God back? Basically is what happened. And I basically didn't even know it was God telling me that. I only felt like, no, I don't want to be having to behave and do everything like a church man. And yeah, I'm not going to be a slave to God or whatever. I was a dumb kid who did not know that I needed the presence of God, but it was worse than that. I actually thought the presence of God wasn't good or that it was bad or that it made me not free to do what I want. I have to do God's will, not mine. That's ridiculous. I want to do my will and I want God to like it too. I didn't know. I was absolutely ignorant. when God left, he came to me, he left. I remembered that moment because I knew something was strange about that man. He was definitely different. I felt very strongly like, wow, something about his presence was powerful. I didn't know it was truly God coming to me in a man. And ultimately, because of it, I remembered that situation. I never forgot that man. There was an impression in my mind when he came to me. I felt like an intense desperation that he wanted me to know God, or he wanted to tell me something, and I got to listen, and I didn't do it again. So I was 18 and I failed to when God came to me, he offered his presence. Maybe I could have him again, and I turned it down. I had no idea I turned it down, and I thought I was helping myself by turning it down. Certainly, I thought it was a good thing, whatever decision I made, because I thought like at least I can do what I want. Abandoned by God, I could do whatever I want. Like I'll just ask myself what I want to do. He's not even here. I'm not gonna be pressured by him. It was not a good thing for me to be so ignorant as to not want God's presence, because it was all I should have wanted. And it certainly should have been my only life purpose to have it. And not having it should have been a failure and considered my life a complete failure, because without the presence of God with me, I am not only as good as dead, but I consider I might as well have died. If I don't have God with me, I'm not even alive. There's no God in me, then I'm in trouble. So when I got older, I started to realize what I was doing, that I was running from God. When he tried to come help me, I would run away. And then I'd pray to him for help. And he'd come try to help me. And when he came around, I couldn't deal with his presence. I felt guilty, like I was going to disobey him. Like it made me feel like a criminal. When God's presence came around me, I felt like I was being judged, and like I must have been somebody in jail or prisoner, a bad person. So when God came to me, I started feeling guilty all the time. His presence didn't do anything good for me. It made me feel bad and guilty and wrong. And it's because I was. It's because I was bad, guilty, and wrong. And what did I do? I refused to have God with me because I didn't want to have to do everything he wants and do his will and absolutely be under some instruction of, yeah, like my dad is always with me in my head now. And I have to be responsible. I can't go misbehave up in the mountains and drink a bunch of beer and swear and throw beer bottles. And it's fun and shoot guns and do whatever I want. God would have said, we're not going to get drunk today and shoot guns at trees. We're going to do something constructive that will bring you to a life where you can actually succeed. And I was like, I took that as it was not good. I can't have God's help, and he can't help me, and I can't succeed. I have to do what I want so I can have fun. I lost him, and I didn't know it was tragic, how tragic it was. God left me again. And I discovered Goddess when I was 47 years old. I discovered Divine Feminine. Just to be aware that when I talk to God, I did not want to do it by faith or even blind. So what I had told God was, if I can't hear you and know who you are, and you don't show up in front of my face, then I'm saying, God, are you even here now? Are you listening to me, God? Are you really here? And he could say, yes, I am. Did I just make that up? Did God just say, yes, I am. I'm here with you now? Was that God actually talking right now? Or was it just me making it up? It certainly is not a verification. I cannot confirm whether God's here with me right now. And maybe I'm making completely up. So I'm saying, this is God here with me. And yes, I am here with Dennis. I have no idea if it's true. And neither do you. I might doubt it too, because I'm thinking, if he's here, well, I'm just told. I said he is. So what's he want to say now? He wants to say that when I was 47 years old and I had gone from you, withdrawing my presence from you, I had abandoned you, I had left you, I was not near you, you did not see me or feel me because I was gone from you, and you were looking at that as your freedom. It made you free to not have me. It was some kind of a relief to you. And then you were tortured by the fact that your whole purpose in life was to have me. And without me, you have no purpose. Because without God, what is life even? What purpose is it? Is it even? There is no purpose. Without him, there's no purpose. My purpose is gone. My purpose is to have him. And I didn't know that. I was relieved not to have him. He didn't talk to me. He didn't tell me nothing. But I told him, praying to him, I told him, I don't know if you're listening, God, but I'm praying to you now, and I don't even know if you're actually here or if you're actually alive or actually real. I'm doubting that maybe I'm talking to myself out loud. I said, God, you cannot allow yourself to have or allow this to happen, that you're going to have a relationship with me and you're not going to actually show yourself so I can see you or hear you or touch you or taste you or smell you. And I said, I need to know that when I'm talking to you, it's real and that you're really here. I have to somehow hear your voice, or you have to show me in a body. You have to show up in a physical body so I could see, oh my God, it's God. I know it's you. And he started talking to my head when at some point, and I could hear his voice suddenly. It was like it was no mistake. God was talking to me now. And I was saying, God, are you really talking to me now? He'd say, well, you don't really know, do you? But yeah, I am. And he told me that the last time I was alive and doing what he wanted me to do, I entered into battle with the intention of a complete and total victory. So I was confident, strong, and willing to fight to the death. And I entered into battle and was following a divine feminine presence that was leading me into the conflict directly as I entered into the battle. The divine feminine presence in me left me, and as I, standing alone on the field of battle, realized I suddenly did not have the divine feminine either. I realized that God had left me. His presence had withdrawn from me, and having her was only half a victory. But having her, I could still follow and go into battle. And when she left me, I realized I was a dispossessed man on the field of battle without any spirit in my head to fight. I was not there much. If they're not here, I'm not here. So I realized that I have nothing. I suddenly could not do and be the soldier and fight. It was a loss of the spirit in me, and I was on the battlefield without it. Suddenly, it was a complete tragedy and catastrophe that I let go of God, or the presence of the singular masculine, that I pushed him out of me so I could take her, having only the ability to carry one half, God's half or goddess's half. I had no way of taking both halves. So I got rid of God's half in me, took her half to be fair. Now I had no God and not his half, and only her half. And it was only fair to her now, because it wasn't fair to me to lose my half. Taking her half, I only had her half. Understand? It got me killed. And so that is not recommended. Taking the divine feminine presence into you, if you can only hold half, and you'll lose your God. You can't take her. So she may not push you out, and she may not make you feel guilty or even try to pressure you into taking her half if you only can hold one half. That's the sign of Aries. And understand, it's a tragedy that I did not obey God when he told me to keep him like it's going to save my life. And I was trying to be fair because I wanted to hold her half to prove I could be fair. Getting rid of my half, I got rid of God. And he told me, if you get rid of me on the field of battle and I am not with you, you shall die. You will not win. And ultimately, I didn't really hear him say it to me. I felt it. When I suddenly realized, I remember getting shot and falling back and bleeding. I remember trying to see, and I couldn't see anything because my eyes went black. And I was trying to see, oh my God, I'm going blind, and I was still alive, kind of freaking out. And I'm bleeding. I knew I was bleeding to death slowly. I figured it's probably why I can't see, but I couldn't see nothing. It was all red, and my eyes were just, my sight left me. And I could hear, I was listening very carefully, and all I could hear was gunshots going off everywhere. And I was on the ground next to my dead horse. My horse was dead right next to me, and I don't remember if I shot it or someone else shot it. But all the horses were shot and dead on the ground all around us. There was no horses alive or standing, or they ran off or they're dead. And there's many dead horses all around us. So our cover was dead horses. Those were our only cover in the field. Otherwise, we had no cover. We're in an open field. And so I'm sitting on the ground realizing that the horses are our only cover, and the horses are getting shot up, literally bullets going into them right and left, like sploop, 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 sploop. And I'm realizing this is it. And I could hear still. But so I lay back on my back. I look up at the sky, and I can't see. I'm trying to see, man. And I could hear, and I'm listening to the gunshots go off. And suddenly I feel the presence of somebody near me. There's somebody near me, and it's Indians, and they are literally capturing me. They come to where I was on the ground. I'm still on the ground, and I'm blinded and listening. I could hear only, and they capture me and take me into custody, basically right there. And they tell me that I won't listen to the Great Spirit, and that I ignore the Great Spirit. So these two Indians who captured me put me on the ground and talked to me, and one of them spoke English and said, "You did not listen to God. You ignored him, and you did not listen to him, and you are deaf and dumb to God's word or what he wanted to tell you, and you will have to listen to him. You will die because you will not listen to God, and we are going to poke your eardrums out. So we're going to put holes in your eardrums. So next lifetime, you better listen to God when he's talking to you." And I remember that's what God told me that was literally being said. That literally these Indians poked my ears. So I was blind. I couldn't see. I was perfectly alive. I was shot, bleeding. And then they literally stuck in my ear and literally made me deaf right there. It hurt bad. I punctured eardrums. Now I'm sitting there, captured in custody, blind and deaf, can't hear nothing, and in pain, in massive pain that hurt really bad to get my eardrums punctured. It hurt like I thought like it was death. It was hurt, pain to the highest level. Like I can't believe I even withstood it. And as I sat there listening, I couldn't hear anything now except ringing maybe, and I couldn't see anything either. And I felt like I was not listening to God, and God told me you basically didn't listen to me, but ultimately it was the Indians punishing me and puncturing my eardrums. And ultimately, the next life I was going to listen to God. Well, God told me the story. He said that it did happen. And ultimately, he said, you didn't listen to me, and you were trying to listen to a divine feminine goddess. You were taking her, and you were taking her half and trying to be and do what she wants. And ultimately, I just didn't know that I had done what I did. And he said that I don't want you getting rid of me, man. He says, I'm your God. You keep my half. It's me. It's you. And don't take her. You will not take her. If you take her, you have not got me. Now you've got her only. And I thought like, okay, I need to know that. That was important that I know that. Oh, hey, Casey, what's up? I didn't know you were here. If you're still here. Now, there is no way that I came to this earth so I could ignore God and not do what he wants and actually empower myself in some rebellious way where it functions like a relief to me that I don't have to deal with him, not knowing that I do want to find that relief and not deal with him only because all the things that I'm doing wrong. And when he points it out and I have to listen to what he's saying, I already can feel I don't want to go through having to be chastised and scrutinized by God so I could have him again. And he said that, yes, you do. In fact, if you won't let me scrutinize you and tell you what you're doing wrong, and I'm going to come to you and tell you why you need me, and it's your only reason to exist. Without me, you're living a life as a dead human, spiritless, without your God. And you're just going to walk around feeling like you're free and everything's good. And it's not good because you're going to die. And he says, and I'll kill you. And he told me, you'll come back and be born in some other body. And I'll be trying to get you to do what you're supposed to do then. And in each lifetime, he says, there's a point where you stop listening to me. And it's usually in your childhood. And he says, you're not ever getting off the karmic wheel. And you're frustrated, he said, because you are being born over and over again, having to learn, go to school. You don't want to go to school, he said. You know why you don't want to go to school? You can't stand it? Because you've gone to school so many lifetimes and learned so many times, and then you're erased. You forget everything. He said, you're upset. Your soul is upset because you try to tell me. He says, I talked to him in my feelings somehow. So he says, you tell me lots of things, and I don't know that I tell him anything. But he says he has some kind of relationship with my heart and my feelings. He says, you say a lot of things to me that you don't even know you're saying. He says, your heart speaks to me in detail about stuff. And he says that you are in a place where if without me, you shall not ever get off the wheel, and you will always be reborn, suffer, and have to learn and be erased. And ultimately, your whole lifetimes are nothing more than suffering. If you want to get off the karmic wheel and you want to win and get where you are supposed to go, the first thing you need to do is have a relationship with your God, and it has to be that he's with you. And then understand that what he's going to tell you is, if you're actually someone like me, like Aries, or like a man that can only hold one half, there's many of us that can only hold one half. He's going to tell those people that if it's possible that you can only hold one half, I'm not going to expect you to get rid of my half. I'm God, and you have my half. You will keep it. You will not get rid of it. And understand, you are the only one, since you can only hold half, that may not cooperate, that must not cooperate with her. When she comes around and tells you, just like everyone else, you have to take her half too. She's trying to give her half to all the other signs, which she can do it. Because if you have a second half in house 2, you could put the first half in with it, and you have 2 halves in house 2, and it is 2. So you can actually put 2 together in house 2. You could put 2 together in house 3 or 4 or up to 12. So every house and every sign can hold her half, take her half, deal with her half, and be having it. And they have their half too. Every sign but Aries is able to take both halves and work together with them. So she's happy with every sign except Aries, who won't take her half because, again, he can only hold one half. So this becomes an issue of what God told me when he came to me and he said, I am instructing you and ordering you to not try to do the right thing like everyone else is doing, to be correct and take her half, because after all, they don't lose their half when they take her half, and they can work with her together. And she does get into them, and it is good. And that's what I want too. I want everyone to take her half and work with her, but she's not ruling, and she won't be a ruling factor. So God says that she's not going to tell me what to do, and she's not going to tell you what to do. She's supposed to be with you, working together, and you two are supposed to get along. She's not a leading element. She's not God, and she won't be ruling or telling you to do things that I don't want you doing. And I don't want you getting rid of yourself because you're getting rid of me. Do you understand? And ultimately, when I found that out, that I was like, wait a second, you're saying that if I get rid of myself or whatever my half, it's you. Yes, it is. If you are with your God, you're with your first half. It is you, it is me, it is us. And as long as you have your first half, it's you're doing what God told you to do and what I want you to do. And if you can't take a second half, then you can't take her half. That's for sure. And ultimately, I was trying to, help her realize that I really couldn't take her half, but I wanted to. And I couldn't understand even what I was saying, because I understand that I had no understanding of the fact that I had to take her half, or I could only hold my half. I had no understanding. The frustration in my mind was, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't do what she wants. Certainly, I feel like I better not do what she wants. And that's God telling me. That's God telling me. God says, I'm the one that told you, you have better not do what she wants. I don't want you doing anything. Do not take her. And I did not hear God telling me that. I only felt it. So in my feelings, I was feeling like, well, God's telling me probably don't take her and screw her, and who cares, and tell her to F off. But ultimately, that's how I translated it. God told me to say F off. He didn't necessarily say that. He says, no, I told her to do not take her, was my exact words. Do not take her half. Keep your half. It's me. I translate that to tell her to F off. So I tell her, F you. F you, get back, woman. Get back. God told me I don't take you. Well, ultimately, it was an immature way to do it. And I translated what God said into something that really he didn't say. He didn't tell me to tell her to F off. He told me to not take her half no matter what, and try to just be okay. The problem is I was not okay. So if I could have taken her half, I would have been doing something God told me not to do, and defying his will, and also disabling my ability to even exist properly. And so I cannot do it and must not do it. And God told me, do not do it. Now I'm disobeying the divine feminine and her will, and what she wants, she does not even know. The divine feminine is blind and deaf and dumb and can feel only because the goddess was taken out. Understand that the divine feminine collective on earth is in women as a group, and its power is defined by its feelings and how it feels. So the collective is a feeling, living, spiritual collective, and all the women can feel it. They're all in it together. And it is not have a goddess head. The goddess head is missing from it. She is dead. The goddess is dead. That's all I'll tell you. But her spirit and her collective and her mind is in women in the world. So the goddess is not dead in women. She is dead as a goddess head that used to actually be here. There used to be a physical goddess that was here, and she was big, and she was had a goddess body, and ultimately she also had her mind into all the women. So the women took that goddess and took her mind, and they were all goddess. All divine femininity is in the collective. It's in the goddess and all women. When the goddess was dead or killed or destroyed, and she was, I promise. He says, I killed her dead as a doornail. And that's not funny. He's not laughing one bit. So it's not a joke. He says, I killed her dead as a doornail, the goddess, and then made a proclamation that the divine feminine may not rule at all anymore. And in fact, is nothing more than going to do what I want and enslave, perhaps, if she wants to say that. So what I found out was all this time that I was taking her half and not having mine, God was upset with me. And I'm saying, what am I doing wrong? Because she's saying, take her half, and I'm right. She's only right to tell any other sign that. She could tell Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Every one of them can take her and have her half with their half too. So she's trying to do something that a goddess was trying to do, is to force the people to take her spirit so she could influence them like a divine presence. It was supposed to be the way it is. But without the goddess head in a goddess body, with her as a goddess only living in women that are not goddesses, they're only a feminine collective, a female spirit in all the women, it's actually a divine feminine presence that is not able to direct itself anymore since there's no goddess directing it. It's existing as a presence that has no power or ability to direct itself. It's under the direction of God and control of God, which means that God says, I tell you what to do. I make you feel like you should. I change the collective by either punishing it when it's bad or rewarding it when it's good to keep it feeling good if it does what I tell it, and otherwise I punish it so it doesn't feel good. Ultimately, it is a collective of angry women that are mad about something they can't even remember, about losing their divine power and God destroying by murdering the goddess. God admits that he did, that he murdered her dead, and he said that she had to die because she was trying to kill me, and the divine masculine presence of God was ruling. She wanted to remove it and have the divine feminine presence rule as a god or goddess. So the war in heaven was a real, absolute thing that took place between God and goddess. They warred. They fought to the death. The goddess is lost, and many gods died. In fact, mostly all the gods were killed. Eris was killed. Apollo was killed. Artemis was killed. Diana was killed. Hera was killed. Minerva was killed. Venus was killed. They were all killed. And the reason why they were killed is because of the conflict in Troy. So all of the conflict that started in the Trojan War and with Troy, and it was between the divine feminine and divine masculine, and the Trojan people were fighting because the goddess and God were fighting up on Olympus, and it was making people who had those spirits in them angry and fighting too. Now, when one God came into this world, when we suddenly had one God, understand that we had many God in the polytheism. We had many gods, like there was many gods, like hundreds of them, and they had names, and we knew who they were, and there were lots of gods. So what happened when there's only one God now? Suddenly, look in the history books. What you'll find is where the mythological truth comes to a head into history. Actually, the mythological presence of our historical past is ultimately in a myth. It's a myth. We don't know if mythology is even real or if those gods are actually here. Well, I'll tell you, they actually were here, but they all died. They all got killed, and God killed them. So Zeus was the father of all gods. He was the god of gods, and he was much more powerful than any of the other gods. Apollo, Eris, Diana, you name it. I could give you a list. They were all his kids, his children. They were brothers and sisters. Athena was a sister of Eris, and she murdered him. And in the Iliad, it doesn't tell you that he died. It tells you that he went up to Mount Olympus and maybe got healed, but just the story ends. Let me tell you, the Iliad is full of misinformation, and ultimately it's not telling you anything. When I read the Iliad, God was with me and telling me the truth, and he told me what happened, and I was reading between all the lines. And when I read the Iliad, I actually thought there's like what really happened is not in the story. And there was a whole story that came up in my head that I thought, wait a minute, like the story of our past has not been told, and the Iliad does not tell it at all. And so reading the Iliad was a disappointment to me, because I thought this should be a great story, and it is. But when you actually know what really was not told, then it was missing all the important stuff. It was disappointing to think that they didn't share the information with us or tell us any truth. And what is in the mythology is ultimately hard to interpret, and it is true. Mythology is true. These gods were here. Zeus killed everyone, and if you look at Kratos, you look at you look at the gaming world on YouTube, we'll understand that they're not real, right? All these gods, Kratos, all these games, and these gods killing the gods. We'll understand they're reflecting what happened, and so all video games are reflecting a human past and something that we did. What we're doing is just acting out our feelings that have been with us over and over in many lifetimes. And so we are warlike, and we like war and killing and destroying. And ultimately, Zeus killed every one of his family members and killed every god and goddess. And so Zeus was the only god left. He had murdered his entire family. And he said, I'm Zeus, and I'm the father of all the gods. I am the singular masculine presence in all men. And you will all have my presence, and you will take it. And if you can only hold half, you still don't take her half. And you don't have to take her half at all. So he told, so she survived. Understand that she survived as in the collective. It's her, the collective. Do you understand that the Divine Feminine Collective is a dead goddess that can only feel? She can't have a head to think in her mind of what's really going on. Understand that the head of the goddess was destroyed, so that the collective is not able to sense intelligence or even words to put them into understanding. It's a feeling collective that feels strongly and very, very precisely. So the feelings in the collective are very well. They're truly, she could feel the truth. She could feel when you're lying. She definitely can feel everything about you. She uses her feelings to exist, and she doesn't have any sense of intelligence. She's emotional only, because there is no goddess in the head with a mind to have the mind too. There's no mind there. It's been destroyed. But the collective was allowed to live. So understand, the goddess is not dead in the sense that she's in all the women, but she's dead because she's not here. She can't direct as a being that's separate from her collective. She can't direct it or make it do anything. She is the collective as she's dead. The women are alive though. There's no immortal goddess that's alive. Zeus had told me that he had a one god world suddenly appear here. And there was a time in our past when the world became one god world, and literally that was a fact. So we went from like hundreds of gods and the whole, it was ridiculous. And then we have one god. Where's the mentioning of the goddess? He said, I took her out. Do you understand? I took her out, and she's only alive in the collective. And I also killed every god and goddess. They're all dead. There's one god left, and it's me. And I'm the only god there is, and I'm Zeus, and or Jehovah, or you can call me Tom, Dick, or Harry. And so I'm like, wait a minute. So there's only one God now? Yes, you bet there's only one God now. So that's because you killed every God in existence. Every one of them, I just killed them off and murdered them. Because if I want to survive as the God and not be taken over, or if I'm going to allow them to usurp my power and destroy me, they already tried. So understand it was a responsibility of God to destroy every threat to him. And his family was the threat. His daughters were the threat. Minerva was the threat. She was a goddess that wanted to instill feminine authority into the world. And it was against Zeus's will. He did not want feminine authority instilled into the world. And his daughters insist upon it. And Hera, his wife, insisted that the women get a fair share of command and authority. No, they don't. Zeus, the god of gods, told his wife, I don't care if you're the head goddess of all, you are not going to have authority over me, and neither will any woman over any man. And of course, she was mad. She didn't like it. So think about that. The fact that he had to kill his wife, he had to kill his kids, and every one of anyone that might threaten his power or taking it over so he could survive and guarantee his survival, he had to murder every threat. He did it. Only one God left. And understand, now we only have one God. I didn't find God my whole life. Understand that when I was 54 years old, I found God. God found me. And that's just like last year or less. So understand that I claim that I'm talking to God for less than 1 year, because I'll tell you that I never talked to him my whole life. For 53 years, I never even knew if he existed, because I never talked to him, not one time. And in fact, I prayed to him and didn't even know if he existed or if he's listening, because I had no idea if he was even there or here. So my entire life, for 53 years, I did not see God or know that he existed. I thought maybe he's dead. Maybe he hates me and he's gone, or whatever the reason, he's ignoring me and he's not going to show himself. Certainly I was disappointed as all hell. And when I was being just basically dying of liver failure in 2016, because I was an alcoholic doing drugs, didn't care anymore. I just gave up. And I was getting sick from drinking too much alcohol. This is 2016. And I was yelling at God. And I got to a point where I was so mad at God, because I thought, you didn't show yourself, God. You certainly, if you're real, God, you should show yourself to me, man. What are you doing? You want me to have a relationship with you, and I can't see who you are. I can't even see you or know if you're here. That's so freaking ridiculous. You are freaking wrong. And ultimately, I was getting sick. And I went to the hospital with yellow eyes, and I had liver failure. And the doctor told me I had 30 days to live and I would die. And there's no chance if I drink, I'm going to live, because my liver was in liver failure. My eyes bright yellow. I'm in the emergency room crying at God, saying, you know what? I hate you. I hate you. And I feel like I cursed him just like Job did, because I said, I can't believe you expect to have a relationship with me. And you don't even show yourself. I can't even hear your voice. I don't even know if you're here. You want me to have faith that you're here? No, you're wrong, God. You are so wrong. And I told him, you shouldn't even be God. I should be God. I would freaking imprison your ass. And I have a right to be God, but you don't. That's how mad I was. And I realized how ridiculous I was too, because by telling them that, it's like asking to die. I'm just like challenging him to the point of trying to take him over. And I'm just a mortal man that's just a guy. How can I usurp God and take him over and tell him you are wrong? Well, I did it. And there was a divine feminine presence that showed up in my head. And it was like a mother. And she said, I knew she was with me when I first felt her. It was right after I cursed God really heavily. I thought I was going to die. I thought my life was over. I was mad at God for saying, at least I'm going to do one thing before I die. I'm going to be telling God off and telling him what he's doing wrong is he's not even being here when he's here. And he's not even letting us have the courage or competence that we have a relationship with God and we can see it, because we actually see him with us. He's not coming and showing himself. He's not showing himself. It's totally just preposterous and wrong. And I could be pissed about it. And so I thought, I'm done with. And I'm at least going to tell God the truth, that he sucks big time. And ultimately, in my head, the presence of a woman showed up. I thought it was like my mother or my dead mom. And I could tell there's some woman in my head. And I didn't know what that meant. But she said, good for you. I was like, what? Good for me? I thought I was dying. I was in my van on the side of the road. I was like yellow eyes, liver failure. I just got to the emergency room. I'm not making 30 more days. And I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to get a drink and kill myself now. And I knew I was dying. So I was afraid. I was scared. I was crying. And I was mad at God, yelling at him. I told his ass off. And then she says, good for you. Who are you? And in my head, I absolutely had a feminine presence in my head. And she said, good for you. And she said, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I didn't, this is weird. I'm 47 years old and I just told God to F off and I hate you forever. And basically, I meant every word of it. And I couldn't believe it. I did it. I certainly felt like I just cursed myself to hell and now I'm going to die. And I thought that was the end result for what I just did. Deserved it now. And I did it on purpose to get punished, maybe to kill myself or make him kill me because I meant it. And she suddenly showed up and she was proud of me. And I was like, what the hell? Who she is? Well, it was certainly like a mom in my head. She said, you just told God the F off so heavily. You did such a wonderful job. She said that I was impressed the way that you meant every freaking word of it. And you made Job look like a nice guy because you definitely told God off way better than Job ever did it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're proud of the fact that I just cursed myself to hell by telling God to go to hell? I am proud of you, she said, and I am coming to you to talk to you so you could see my presence and feel it. And I did. I thought I was going crazy because I actually was like, there's a goddess in my head or something. There's a mom, a female in my head, and yes, she's here. And I was like, this is weird, but I can hear you. I know you're here. Yes, you do. She said, I'm. You can hear my voice, right? Yes, it's in my head. I can hear you talking to me. I know what you're saying. She's saying, I'm doing it to allow you to witness this interaction. She said, so you feel much better now because you actually think you're talking to a goddess, right? Well, I actually know it, I said, because you're actually showing yourself in a way that seems tangible to me, real. And so I actually felt her strongly, and I actually could hear her in my head talking to me. It was definitely a voice that was like, I don't know where the voice box was coming from, but it was loud, clear. And she said that she was so impressed with the way that I just cursed myself to hell and told God off that she had to come tell me that she doesn't want me to die. That now that she wants me to live. So I'm like, wait, you're showing up to say that I just did the greatest thing ever? Yes, you did. You just told that SOB off. He deserves every bit of it. And I'm like, wow, you don't like God? I don't like him. That SOB? She's like, he is an SOB. I suddenly realized the divine feminine or the goddess hates God or they're not together. And I thought, oh my God, like you guys don't even like each other. I had no idea. So I didn't know that God and goddess hate each other at the top or they're fighting or trying to kill each other. And that's what I found out. They definitely don't like each other. So God hates goddess. If she's going to try to think she could be in charge, he's saying, no, you're never in charge, woman. You can be my slave or my wife or my daughter, and I'll treat you good if you do what I tell you. God says, I'm God, and you do what I tell you, and you're not in charge. I am. Well, truly, that's what God told me he damn well demand. And so she said, the fact that I just told him off, I just totally rejected his presence. She said, you just got rid of him so effectively. You don't have him at all. She said, I'm going to show up and be with you now. I'm comfortable. You're comfortable because I just got rid of God. Yeah, I don't want that presence. I wouldn't come to you and be here if he was here. You just cursed him down and sent him away. He left. Okay, great. So I'm going to die now. And I suddenly realized I had God. I had God a minute ago. You had a minute ago before you were dying. You're at the hospital. You had God then, but you got rid of him finally. You finally said, oh my God, I'm going to die with God. He's not doing shit for me. Get away, God. You suck. And she said, you did it. And now you can hear me. So I suddenly met a goddess. And I thought, this is great. So she says, you're not going to die. You certainly are not going to die. She says, your liver, it will be fine if you stop drinking right now today. And I said, I can't do it. I can't stop drinking today. I'm just absolutely not able to control myself. My emotions are absolutely trying to get that beer and drink it. And she says, that's God trying to kill you, making you, tempting you to kill you. You were drinking yourself to death and God's trying to kill you. That's why you cursed him out. You started to say, what are you doing? You're trying to kill me. I'm in the freaking hospital with liver failure. I'm following you, God, and you're leading me into freaking death. Well, that's what I realized emotionally. And at the time, I didn't even know that was really what he was doing. It certainly seemed that way. And I got rid of him and suddenly had her. And she said, now that you have me and whoa, you got rid of that SOB. She says, I'm going to be with you and you're not going to die. You're going to live and you're not going to drink. And I just didn't believe it because I thought, there's no way I can quit. She said, I'm a goddess. You will not drink. And I will take you will not have any urge to have alcohol. No, I shall take it from you. And I thought, are you even kidding me? Am I insane? because I was realizing I'm sitting in my van talking to a goddess suddenly that was proud of me for taking that God out and telling him off. She said, "You're the best. I love you. Thank you. You're a professional." She said, "You're at the top. No man did it as good as you. Man, I love you." She was proud of me. And I thought, wow, I'm like, I just did the worst, most like absolute violation, cursed myself to hell by cursing God to hell. And it was a reward I got of a goddess presence that said that now she's approving of me in some way. And she's even going to be willing to help me. So she said that you will not have any urge to drink. And I didn't believe it. But the thing is that the next day I didn't get another beer. And then a day passed then and I still didn't get another beer. She said to me, "I'm going to be with you every day." And so she was talking in my head every day. And she said, "You're going to get healthier and heal." And I just didn't know if it was true, but I didn't have a God to follow anymore because I cursed him to hell and got rid of him. And he left and abandoned me. I didn't even know that until she told me that. That was after she showed up and then congratulated me and said I just did the greatest thing ever. And she's proud of me. And then she says she's going to guide me and be my goddess and that she's real. I certainly was not able to win. I was certainly going to die and I couldn't stop drinking. So without the assistance of a goddess, I was going to die. There's no way I was going to stop drinking. I was going to kill myself with alcohol and I couldn't stop it. She stopped it. She took it away, the urge away from me and told me that I'll be fine. And every day that went by and I didn't drink and she was talking to me, she says, "I'm with you and I'll be with you all the time." And she says, so we're talking all the time, every day, constantly. I talk to her all day long in my head, like a crazy man. And she said that I'm going to bring you back to life. She did. She brought me back to life. And I got healthy slowly and I didn't drink and I didn't even smoke. I quit smoking. It seemed that I was completely compelled to drink again and smoke. I lost the urge. She took it from me. She told me that she took it from me. And I couldn't believe it because she did take it. I didn't have an urge. I quit. So a month went by and I started to get healthy. And now I got a goddess in my head. And it seems I just won the Nobel Prize. So I got the Nobel Peace Prize for I just found a goddess and I didn't find any God yet. Do you understand? I didn't know God. I didn't talk to him. God didn't have a relationship with me. He didn't come in my head and talk to me yet. All he did was like deal with me on some feelings and levels. When he talked to me, I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't even know if he was here. And when he did talk to me and he might be here, I knew that it might be me crazy or maybe he's not actually here. I understand that every interaction I've had with God, I doubted it. And I thought maybe it's crazy or I don't see him. There's no way I could even confirm he's here. Well, when Goddess came to me and then I'm rewarded for doing what I did, getting rid of him, she said it was a good thing. And ultimately I thought it was like the worst thing a man could possibly do, curse himself to hell. I'd curse myself to hell. She loved it. So she told me, "Thank you. And I'm going to help you now." And ultimately I couldn't believe it. So I got a goddess that's going to help me. And she's offering this crazy stuff. So I just met a goddess and she came to me as she did. And she said, "Because you cursed God out and you meant every word of it, I actually think you should live now and be worthy because I hate him. I hate his guts." Ultimately, that's what she felt. And he felt the same about her. I don't like her one bit. So I suddenly realized the God and goddess, the big God and goddess, well, she and him do not like each other. And I forget the past. Forget the past is the actual saying that is a fact. Forget the past. It's over. And now you can't fix anything because of the past you forgot and it's over. Well, understand that you're repeating a mistake, that you're doing it over and over from the past. And I found this goddess and thought it was the greatest thing ever. So getting rid of God was the best thing I ever did because he finally left me and she saved me and brought me back to life. And it was because God abandoned me first that I got her and she even agreed to come. So I thought it was great. And I started to have a relationship with the divine feminine goddess in my head. And you call me crazy, but I'll tell you what, I'm not crazy. She's actually real. And I had got rid of God or he abandoned me utterly. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life. So then I'm with a goddess now and she's telling me that he is bad. The God is bad. Basically, he's a prick. It was like a mom that was just hating the dad. Like she talked shit about him basically. And I was very kind of, wow. I didn't think that the goddess would be talking like this. I certainly didn't think your personality goddess is like what it is. I thought like you're like a human being that's mad at your husband and you'd slap him in the head. She says, "I'd kill his ass. Like he's so bad. He'd try to kill me." Ultimately, I knew that that maybe it was a good thing. And I thought for sure for 2 or 3 years, I spent having a relationship with this goddess, and I didn't have no relationship with God. Not ever. If I did, I thought maybe it was just in my head or something. Yeah. God didn't show up, talk to me yet. Not once. And so God suddenly showed up, and now she's talking to me and directing my entire life. And she got me into tarot reading, tarot cards. And she explained everything and taught me everything. And I thought, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. I got a goddess in my head, and I got the divine feminine on my side. Mom's on my side. And dad, I don't even know him. If I don't even know if he's here or he ever was. And ultimately, after a while, um, after a while I had her, it was great. A couple of years, I was celebrating the fact that I did something great. What'd you do? God abandoned me, or I got rid of him, or I pushed that son of a bitch out, that SOB, and then I took goddess and she loves me, and I got this divine feminine that loves me. Well, the problem is that as having that first half, I take it back sometimes. And so, as a person that's now a tarot card reader and talking to a goddess but didn't have God anymore, I was trying to justify her whole reason. So I started to defend the Divine Feminine Collective, and ultimately was doing videos and trying to say Goddess is good, Goddess is here, I don't see God, where's he? But ultimately the fact is I didn't know if maybe he's dead, because like literally, like I said, I'd never talked to him. Not one time did he show up and actually appear where I could see him tangibly. So when she did, I thought, wow, I got a reward, and that there's really a goddess. That's really the truth. And I'll tell you right now, it's really something you could see as the truth. But God abandoned and left me and withdrew his presence from me. That's why it was true. So ultimately, God's real, just as real as her, but maybe more real. He's in charge and she's not. So when I was with her for 7 years, I tried to change the collective. For 7 years, I did tarot card readings and I did videos. I never gave up, and my intention was to try to get into the Divine Feminine Collective and infiltrate it. And it wasn't that I infiltrated it; it was more like she pulled me into it to try to control me in it, so I'd have influence by it. So I was in it, and I was influencing it, and I was trying to help her understand her dilemma, that she is a slave to God, that she is not in charge, that she is absolutely under the thumb of a God that's a singularity, that's like dad, and he says, you're not equal to me, I'm your father, and I will tell you what to do, and you will do what I tell you, and you will not tell me no. And ultimately, I'm God, and you will not tell me no, and you will not be equal to me, because I'm your dad, and I'm the one in charge, and you're not. Ultimately, that's what God would tell her, literally. And she would say, well, that's kind of messed up. I used to be strong like a goddess. Well, yeah, but you're not anymore. Now you're just a human being that has her, but you're not immortal in a goddess body, which meant that God had destroyed her. And then all that's left is the collective, but it is her. It's just that it's blind now. It can't reason words into understanding. She's not capable of putting words into a brain that can look at the words and actually have the understanding. The Divine Feminine Collective is only an intelligence that is through emotions and feelings, and it reacts to what happens to it. It doesn't know how to understand really what's going on, except it reacts as a collective. It reacts, and it's all feelings. So it's very alive in the sense that it's reacting to everything. And for 7 years, I tried to influence the collective. For 7 years, I tried to help her and tell her that you can't try to get rid of God and utterly be proud of yourself, that you literally, that you pushed him out, and he left his presence from you. He withdrew. He went away, and you said that's the best thing that ever happened. And then you reward the people like me. I was telling the goddess this. You're wrong. Like 7 years, I've tried to get with you, and ultimately, what was I attempting to do? I was attempting as a divine masculine collective leading it. So what was I doing? I had a first half called God. I took my half, and I was trying to get along with their half. So I was trying to have an interaction with that collective that would be promising and come out like something good. But let me tell you, 7 years of trying led me to a conclusion after 7 years, which was absolutely unbelievable. It was a realization that I've been doing this 7 years, and I suddenly didn't see it until the seventh year. Like, how come I didn't see this before? I realized how utterly a waste of time telling her anything or doing a video it really is. And I realized, what am I doing? This is not working. and she's not going to change. The collective won't change. It's stubborn to the point of death, and it certainly won't listen to God, and it insists on it, that it doesn't have to. And so basically, that's after 7 years, I said, I can't continue to do this anymore. She's not going to change. She needs the conflict. She wants the conflict. She has lost the conflict. So basically, she's a goddess without God. Wherever she can control people and get into them, she won't have his presence. And so God says, well, I didn't know who he was. When I found God, it was only recently. I'm 54 years old, and only recently did God ever come to me where I could hear him now, and I couldn't believe it because I never heard him. So the day came when God came to me, and he said, I need to talk to you. And I said, I can't really understand what you're saying, because I was trying to, like, is this God in my head? Yes, it is. I need to talk to you about what? And he started to tell me, and my feelings were getting very confused because I was thinking, wait a minute, God, I don't know what you're saying. I could feel it, like I'm trying to interpret my feelings. Wait, God, what are you telling me? I didn't hear his voice, but I knew he was talking to me, and he was talking to my heart and my feelings. And I'm saying, what are you doing? You're talking to my heart and my feelings. I don't know what you're saying. I'm frustrated right now because you're talking to my heart and my feelings, and you're not talking to my head and my brain. I don't know what you're saying. He said, I'm doing what I want to do and what I demand to do. I'm talking to your heart and your soul, and your head is not allowed to have a relationship with me. Your brain cannot observe the interaction because I do not show myself to you. And I talk to your feelings and your heart only. And so you will not know what I'm telling you, except you'll feel everything I said. So you'll know if you are going to actually be true and your heart is true. You will know what I'm telling you. You will not be mistaken. But I was so feeling that's just so wrong. Because when he was talking to my heart, I thought, I can't really know what you're saying, God. I don't know what you just told me. Yes, you do. No, I don't. And I got in this kind of like back and forth with him when he came to me, and I said, like, is this really God coming to me? Yes, it is. And I could hear him. And I'm saying, like, you're for real? And then he told me all about my first half and how I got to keep it, and gave me understanding. God gave me that understanding, a full spiritual understanding. He told me everything about human spirituality that makes the human race kill itself, want to fight, want to destroy itself, commit suicide. There's always a reason the human commits suicide, because they've lost their soul. There's no reason to live then. Understand that when you want to kill yourself or you don't care anymore, it's because you've lost your soul. It's gone. It's vacated. And so how could you not want to die? And if you don't know how to actually be okay, you have to know, you have to take your soul and have it, not get rid of it or let it go. Or if it abandons you, you don't want to say it's a good thing it's gone. So understand, when God left me, all I had was goddess, and all I could do was help her rebel and be against men. And then I realized when he came to me, I realized that, wow, I'm dedicated to deliver a truth that is hard to accept and not believable, or like, if you can't handle the truth, like, you better prepare yourself for what I'm going to tell you, because I'm going to say you can't handle the truth. I want you to know that you cannot handle the truth emotionally or mentally. So I want you to prepare to guard your heart, guard your head. I want you to be strong and listen. And I'm going to tell you that you better be prepared for what I'm telling you. It might just shock the shit out of you. All humans are being punished, and the presence of God has been removed from men, women, in the world. And God abandoned us, left this place so we could fight it out in a chaotic, troubled world with conflicts everywhere. And it is a result of abandoning this world. God left. Okay, he left because we are willful, angry, mad, and bad people that want power and authority in the name of God. They take it. And he says humans are struggling to become gods themselves. Of course, they'll deny that, but they want the power, and they want all the power. We're all trying to get it desperately. And many of us are saying we don't want to get it, or we're not trying to get it. It's just a lie. Because if you're not trying to get the power, you're an idiot. power is the only thing that counts. If God is real, you have to know that if you can't witness the interaction of him talking to you, if you have to just have faith he is, do not agree to do it. You tell God, if you want to talk to me, I need to hear your voice. I need to smell it, touch it, taste it, or be aware in a tangible way that you're actually present. I need to know it by seeing it, observing it myself, and confirming it. You show yourself to me, God. You show yourself in a body or something. Well, he says, no. You have to understand that if I showed myself to you, you would feel no more fear. You would feel protected knowing that I am your God and I'm going to be okay protecting you. And if I showed up, you would be confident, feeling much better, knowing that your God didn't abandon you anymore and he's actually with you again. And understand, he says, I'm not with you and I did abandon you. So I'm not with you again. He says, you have to understand that you're all being punished. You get to have a relationship with me without me now. And you go to church and pray. You don't know if I'm listening. You certainly don't even know if I'm there. And when you go home to pray to me and you're talking to me, you certainly won't know if you're talking to yourself or your head or a rock. And ultimately, I am there, he says, and I probably am listening. And maybe I'm not, because a lot of people I abandon, I'm not listening. They're praying to the wall. So there are churches that don't even have God. They're praying to God. And there's churches that have God. They're praying to God and they don't see him. They're all okay with it. So he said, it is my will that you will not see me from now on. I will withdraw my presence from all of you. And then he said, now that's the punishment you're getting. You're going to see your God anymore. I'll still be here, but you won't have a goddamn clue. And you'll all be doubting yourselves. You'll all have you'll have lack of confidence. You'll all be troubled emotionally. And all of you as a whole will be absolutely emotionally damaged and hurting from the idea that God has left you. And understand you'll feel it and know it. And it's terrible. It's a feeling of being abandoned. He's not here. He's not helping. He's not talking. What the hell is going on? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? God is not with us anymore. Even when he is, he's not. So if he comes back, he told me, I'm going to talk to you. And he said, I need you to authenticate what I'm saying. So he taught me to talk to him in a way that it's an actual procedure. I authenticate everything God tells me, which means that God talks to me and I authenticate every word and I spell out the words. I know how to talk to him and he and write down a piece of paper what he's saying. So he could dictate to me in my head and I could write it down. When he dictates to me, it's using English and words that maybe I don't use. And when he used words like pre-diluvian, well, I don't even know what that means. So understand that whoever's talking to me uses a vocabulary that I don't even know all about it. So there's no way that I'm talking to myself. I understand if he's using words that I don't even know what they are and he's doing it on purpose. He's saying, I want you to know that whatever you're writing down now can't be coming from you unless you know what the hell you're saying. I don't know what that word is. I'll look it up. So it's exciting because I have to look up a bunch of words when he's talking to me because I don't even know what they mean. Pre-diluvian yesterday. I kind of knew what that was before the flood. There used to be this place called Elysium. Anyways, I'm going to direct it to the war or the divine feminine. Ego is here to resist and overthrow the divine feminine presence. So it's not only justified, it's brought by God. So God brought the ego here to push her out, punish her, overrule her, tell her off, destroy her, whatever the ego wants to do. And God said, yeah, that's my ego. It's going to do it because she's trying to usurp everything, take it all. We'll have to have egos punishing her constantly. So ultimately, men that don't have egos are trying to be with the divine feminine. They're not fighting her because they just get rid of their ego. They take her half. They don't have ego or the first half. Ego is the first half. It's a masculine God. God says, I am the ego. Don't get rid of me. If you get rid of the ego, it's me. And ultimately, can you believe I just said that? And I'm telling you that God told me to tell you that if you want to fight the ego, you want to fight me, you bet I'm going to want to fight you back. And the ego is not aware that it is literally God in a sense, in the sense of the spirit, the masculine singularity is the spirit alive as a collective. It's called ego. It's masculine, and it is truly not divine. It's karmic. But the ego is not something that is going anywhere. And God says it's me, and I approve of it. And I want that ego to attack that woman, because that ego doesn't have her. It only has its half, and it defines itself as defense. A defense. If the ego doesn't even know that it's only a first half and it can't take her half, then it will feel the same thing without knowing. And so I want you to think about what the ego would do if it had no knowledge of the fact it has a half. Its half is the first half. It's God, and the ego is aware on some level that if it gets rid of its own half, it's going to absolutely not have it anymore. If it takes her half, it'll have her, but not. It'll lose himself. So the ego's aware it will lose God or itself if it takes her half. It's like you got to be kidding me. I mean, if I killed myself, that would be taking your half. I wouldn't take your half. I'm going to take my half. Ultimately, the ego doesn't know anything about the understanding of what I just said. It's only aware that it feels like, don't come near me, because I don't even know I have a half that I can't get rid of. I'll tell you right now, I can't have your half. I already know I can't have you, whatever that means. So the ego is aware fully that it is on a defense that is justified. It's supposed to tell her off or be not for her or even against her, because it is a living collective of men that cannot take her half unless they get rid of their own half first. And it's called ego. It is defensive, aggressive, certainly suspicious. Anything you want to know. It's absolutely not good, because it's actually saying, I don't even understand that I have one half that I have to hold on to, that it's me, that it comes from God, that I get rid of God when I get rid of myself, because it's a masculine singularity. It comes from God. I take it too. So what am I going to do? Well, God says you can't get rid of me and take her. So what are you going to do? And then I realized what I'm going to do. If I'm a man and I got rid of God, that's my problem, man. I got rid of God. I got her. That's all I got. Just that. I'm done for. Toast me, man. Kill me. She's all I got. It's the end of my world. I lost myself. I lost God. I lost my singular masculine first half. I only have the second feminine half. It's her. Can you believe it? I'm diseased and overtaken by her filth. It's ultimately a feeling of a man who takes feminine energy on, like his mother, and he's utterly feeling poisoned and diseased by her presence, because it's really just a loss of his own presence that he's feeling. It's just like, it feels terrible to have her. Like he's punished. She's like, oh my God, like mom just took me away from myself. Now I'm just like a punished child.